What up, ladies and gents? This is going to be the 2v2 comp tier list for Mists of Pandaria Classic. A lot of people have been asking about this one. I've done obviously the individual class stuff, how strong the individual classes I think are going to be, rather than how strong specific comps are going to be, how much general power the spec brings, and how many different things they can play, your options with regards to other classes, that kind of thing. This one's going to be more comp specific focus, so how strong are the individual comps actually? Which comps should you really be looking to play if you're pushing? Obviously, that's not to say that you can't play other things and do well. This list is generally tailored towards that, towards the average Joe that isn't going to be playing absolutely perfectly. So specs that have slightly higher skill requirements to pilot and operate are going to rank a little bit lower in the tier list, as opposed to if they were played by a rank 1 player, things like that. This tier list isn't for rank 1s. They don't need a tier list, so there's no point in making one for those. This is going to be for the general population who will actually get some use out of it. If you want something that's like rank 1 only or whatever, then this isn't that. So if you are going to comment on it, make sure that you have that in mind, because otherwise you're just wasting your time. Right, so without further ado, I guess we get started. And I'm just going to go from left to right, honestly, and just throw things out a little bit. I might tweak things a little bit towards the end, but this is roughly where I think everything is. And I'll talk a little bit about the comps and stuff, why at the end, but I'm not going to go into great detail about every comp because we'll be here all day. But I think Boomy Athlete Lock is a definite S tier. This comp is an absolute menace. Really, really annoying to kill, and they have really, really strong goes as well. Good cooldowns, and obviously the symbiosis is really valuable for both players. I think that Boomy Demo Lock is also really strong, but not quite as strong. I think Athlete is slightly better. Demo is just a little bit weaker overall, but I think it's still A tier. I think Boomy Frost Mage is probably high A tier, slightly above the demo, I would say. Then we got Boomy Sub Rogue is also A tier. I would say that's also slightly above demo. And then Boomy Windwalker is low A tier, I'd say. Not a bad comp by any means, but I don't think it's quite as strong as the other variants. It's got really strong goes, but I think the Windwalker is a little bit more limited as a melee with regards to what they can do, and they're slightly easier to shut down, I would say. And the dots kind of hinder the power, right? They don't synergize that well in that regard. Next up is gonna be Holy Priest Warrior, and this comp is actually, I want to say, surprisingly good. I don't know exactly whether this is B or A tier. I'm gonna put B tier for now, but that's mainly due to lack of testing. Like, I think played with a solid warrior, this comp is actually not bad, and it's definitely Glad worthy, potentially rank 1 worthy with a really good warrior. But I think if you're just going for Glad, you can probably make it work with this comp. It's better than it is in a lot of other expansions, and that's because of how many tools warriors actually have in MoP, right? Priest Feral, sadly, pretty underwhelming. You know what? I'm gonna whack it in B tier. It's not terrible. It's I think worse than Priest Warrior, but it's not in the demon tier by any means. But Feral obviously losing their instant clone proc is pretty detrimental, and I guess this is obviously an early season tier list. They don't have that much on-demand damage, so you end up having to kind of dampen a lot of teams, which becomes risky at times with regards to who they can kill, that kind of stuff. You don't have a lot of agency. Speaking of agency, I think Priest Fire Mage is A tier. I think if Fire Mage wasn't as hard to actually execute the damage of, then it would be higher. This comp feels really good if you have a really good Fire Mage, but unfortunately, I feel like most Fire Mages don't do good damage. It is what it is, and I think that most average players are going to have a much easier time with Frost. So I think I'm going to put Frost at the top end of A tier. I don't think it's quite S tier. If we see the other things that are in S tier, you'll see the power comparison, but I think it's still a very, very good comp. Holy Priest Frost Mage, you're going to see a bunch of them about. I think Holy Priest Hunter is also A tier. It's around the same, I think. I think it's better with the Survival Hunter. I think the Survival Hunter is S tier for sure. But the feels a little bit weaker. I don't know. I'm getting weaker vibes whenever I play with Hunter. I just don't feel as powerful overall. I'm not sure exactly why, because a lot of hunters say there isn't much in it with regards to difference in damage. Holy Priest Sub Rogue. This is a pretty unfortunate comp. I think for your general public, you're not going to be able to make much happen with this comp. Honestly, it feels a lot like a dampener comp, right? Where you really have to just play for like 60 plus dampening by running around pillars and then try and get a kill. It's cringe, man. It's not like DBC or Wrath Priest Rogue by any means. You just don't have the on-demand damage in the goes. And I think people just have too many cooldowns to deal with your goes, right? And they just rotate them. That's kind of the biggest issue, really, with it. Holy Priest Unholy DK. I think this is around the same power as Holy Priest Feral. I'm not sure which one's better. They're pretty similar. I think maybe Unholy DK actually beats it out a little bit even. And then Holy Priest Windwalker. So this one is actually pretty good. I'm putting that in S tier. Pretty good comp. I played that a bunch. I actually really enjoy that. And that's actually quite an easy comp for the Priest to play. You really don't have to do that much. If you're playing with a decent Windwalker, he will basically set up for you with a para on one and a stun on the other. And then all you have to do is follow off the para. Obviously, you have Stealth, you have Chastise, you have Fear, you have, MC, Siphon, whatever you want to run. You have loads of options to follow off his stuff, and there's nothing that can really stop you, right? So you're kind of just chilling as the Priest in that one. You don't have to make any crazy hard decisions. And obviously, the Monk can rotate Karma. He can peel for you pretty well. So it's a good comp. It's a really strong comp. I don't know if it's better than Priest Survival, but it's definitely up there. Definitely up there. It kills a lot of stuff in dampening, and you can also burst people down before dampening, so it's pretty good. Holy Pala Warrior. I think this is slightly better than Holy Priest Warrior, but I don't know how much better, so I'm going to just chuck it a bit higher in B tier. It's not amazing, but it's not terrible. And Holy Pala generally a little bit lower down, I feel like, on the rankings. But we do have a couple of good comps. I think Holy Pala BM Hunter is probably... It's okay. It's pretty durable, I would say, this comp is. But it's... I don't think it's insane at killing stuff. I guess you can maybe dampen with it. Maybe it deserves to be a bit higher. Maybe like up here. Something like that. It's quite hard to do the inter-tier relations, I guess, because obviously everything is very subjective to what you're actually playing with regards to how strong you think it is against you, right? So this is obviously a little bit Priest POV biased because I predominantly play Priest, right? So there will definitely be some sort of discrepancies on the inter-tier stuff, but I want to try and at least get the tiers approximately, you know, where the raw power of those comps lies kind of correct, and that's kind of what we're aiming to do here. Obviously, if you disagree with anything, bring it up. I might have missed a couple of comps out as well. There is so many different things you can play in MoP. It's actually ridiculous. So I've tried to cover sort of the most popular stuff that I personally have faced, right? I've got a whole load of data of different comps that I've played, right? And different comps that I've played against. So I've kind of tried to keep that in mind. I mean, this character's got, what, like 500 or something twos games on. The other one's got like, I don't know, 800 or something. So it's a fair amount of games that we're trying to draw sort of conclusions from, but we've actually got that raw data. So that's kind of where these comps have kind of come from. I've not just plucked them out of thin air, but obviously there will be some things missing if they're not as popular on the beta, and that's just, it is what it is. I'm sorry, it's not perfect, but we're working on it. Holy Pala Feral. Oof. I think actually this is just down with Priest Feral as well. I think it's maybe even slightly... I don't know if it's better. Probably slightly worse, because the clone is kind of nice on Priest. I don't even know if it deserves to go in C tier, honestly. I think it's C tier, mate. I don't think it's that good. Holy Pala Feral. Holy Pala Firewise. What is wrong with it? This is actually a really good comp. I want to put this up here with Holy Priest Fire Mage as well. Maybe even slightly ahead of it. And the same with the Frost version. Actually, I'm going to generally be ranking Frost slightly higher than Fire, mainly because Frost is easier for the Mage to play. So I think that people are gonna be more successful with it unless they really play Fire, you know, exclusively and know how to do the damage. That's the most important thing. If you've got a Fire Mage that knows how to do damage, you can make stuff work, right? Even if they're slightly worse at everything else, the most important thing is that they know how to do the damage, and that I feel like is very rare so far from what I've experienced. Holy Pala DK. I actually think this is probably like, actually not that bad. Maybe it's A tier. I think it's A tier. I think it's just around these boys. I've got some like previous notes for where I put things, but I'm kind of trying to freestyle it a little bit and just make adjustments, improvements as I go. So That's kind of where we're at. I think this as well. Holy Pala Windwalker is probably B tier as well. I think Windwalker overall is quite strong in twos. It can dampen a lot of stuff. But I think that the Holy Pala generally runs out of steam at some point against some of the better healers. And that's kind of where it falls down a little bit. I think it's got to be better than Feral. I think it's probably just around here, honestly. I think that the Holy Priest Warrior is not getting enough love. I think that's up a bit, but I think the Holy Pala Windwalker is pretty decent. Maybe it's like this. Something like that. Either way, they're very, very similar. Okay, Frost Mage, Sub Rogue. I feel like I'm going to get flamed for this, but I just want to throw this in D tier. I literally have not faced a single Mage Rogue that's done anything. And I feel like it probably isn't D tier, but for the average Joe, I just think this comp is so unforgiving. And they're just not going to do enough damage to force anything on goes, and then they're going to run, and they're going to die, and they're going to feed. And that's it. So I just don't recommend you play this comp. It's the amount of time you need to invest to actually do well with it, you're going to just do way better with other stuff, right? So that's why I'm chucking it in D tier. Obviously, really good players are going to make it work and make it look good. But that's not what this is about, right? So this is what it is. Right, Monk Athlete. I think this is like probably like B or C tier. I think C tier. I don't think this is good. Like the para just doesn't synergize with the dots. Like I guess they can stun, but it's just it's quite a damp comp. Maybe it's B tier. Monk Arms banger comp, absolute banger comp. I think this is probably the best comp out of everything we've done so far. This is really scary. This comp, really good comp. Really good comp. Monk Mage, I think is just in the bin. Absolute poop. Poly and Para obviously are share and DR. Just generally they don't synergize that well together. They can probably just play for dampening, but the Monk doesn't have that much CC for the Mage, so a lot of classes are just going to have good uptime and cause them problems, really. So I just don't really think many people are playing this. Maybe prove me wrong, but I think if your average Joes are playing this, they're going to feed, so it's in the bin. Okay, Monk Survival Hunter. I think this is like very middle of the road. I don't think it's amazing, but I don't think it's terrible. I think it's probably like around here, and same for MM. I feel like, is it better than Holy Pala BM? They're very, very comparable, I think. But Monk DK is pretty good. I think this is low. I think Monk DK is the bottom of S tier. It beats a lot of stuff out. I think it's generally weaker than the ARMS version, but it's still really good. Main, I guess, issue with this is the DK can, I feel like, actually die. I feel like the DK is overall slightly less durable than the Warrior. But the DK has really good goes as well, so you have to really be mindful when they pop their stuff, not to overgreed and just play safe. You basically stop what you're doing, play safe for 30 seconds, and if you don't, they can really punish. Druid Athlete. I think this is kind of maybe low A tier. I don't think Athlete is that good with a healer in twos. And I think Athlete is one of those specs as well where I just haven't seen really that many good players making it work. So I think low A tier is probably even generous for this, but it is what it is. Druid Warrior is probably high A tier, almost bordering S tier. It's getting up there. Warriors are really good. Obviously, Druids are really good. I think that the comp is less damp than the Monk version, and it's a little bit lower because of that. Honestly, it could even go bottom S tier. Probably isn't the worst shout in the world. But personally, I have pretty good win rate against the Druid Warrior, so that's the only real thing that kind of keeping it down for me. Maybe it doesn't do that well into priests, and does well into other stuff. I think we put it bottom S tier. I think that's fair. And then Druid BM Hunter. I mean, this is still a really good comp, right? You got the other Hunter versions. I don't think this is going to be that much worse. Oh, we haven't even done Druids yet. I actually think this is probably like middle A tier, something like that. Just chuck it there. Druid Enhance. This is just dampener comp. Honestly, like they have a big burst every couple of minutes with the enhances CDs, but if you manage to CC that, then they kind of just poop. So they're just playing to live this comp and trying to get to 70% damp and then pressure you out with the CD pop, right? That's kind of all that comp really does. If you have any sort of decent comp, you'll probably kill them before then. So I don't think it's that good. Okay, Druid Fire Mage. I think this is a pretty well. I actually think, is it S tier? I might put this in A tier just because it's fire. I don't know if that's harsh, but I think that Druid Frost Mage is top dog. This is probably the best comp. They can survive so well. They have so many different DRs. They can do goes. They have a lot of damage on demand. They have an insane amount of CDs to survive. They have insane mobility. You know, they can avoid damage if they want. It's just like it just has everything. This comp, right? There's no downsides. So I think that another really good thing about this is it basically just beats out all the other mage versions as well. And there's a lot of good mage comps. But Resto Druid Mage just is so safe with the blooms that it basically just deletes an entire sort of target because of the blooms. So yeah, crazy good comp. Shortly followed by, I would say, the Resto Druid Survival, and then Resto Druid MM is like a bit behind. I would say like that, something like that. Generally, I've found that Survival Hunters, I don't know if it's just the players playing them, but generally I found it harder to face Survival than MM. Resto Druid Unholy DK. I think this is like A tier. This is a good comp as well. I think it's probably better than DM Hunter, but not by much. I think it's around there. Somewhere around there. What have I got in my notes? Yeah, I had it somewhere around in A tier. It's slightly different on my notes. So what we've got here, this is kind of a fresh list, but there's, as I said, there's going to be like inter-tier stuff that doesn't really match up. But overall, they're all in similar tiers. I think I'm happy with that. I think that's probably around there. I don't think that's a bad comp at all. Maybe it could even come up a touch. Is it more versatile and does it beat more things than Boomy Mage? Maybe. I think Boomy... Sorry, I think Resto Druid Fire Mage is really good, but again, it's the drawback of it is that it's really hard to find a really good Fire Mage, so on average, this comp isn't going to perform as well as the Frost version. Even though it might be relatively comparable, it'd probably be up here. Resto Druid Windwalker. I actually might just put this in low S as well. I think this is a really strong comp. I don't know if I want to put it ahead of the Holy Priest version, because the Holy Priest has really nice cross CC potential, but like Resto Druid should just be better, I feel like. So we're just gonna put it there. I think that's fair. I think that this comp can damp people really hard. Obviously the Druid gets them there, and then the Windwalker can just kill someone in a go, right? With a AoE stun fists. So terrifying comp to face actually if they're good. Resto Shaman Athlete. I think again this is very middle of the road. I think it's better than the Monk version, but I don't know if it's better than Druid. I think it's probably like around here, just with the middle of the road comps. It's nothing special. Resto Shaman Warrior as well, kind of just high B tier. These are all very comparable, I think, in terms of what they can do. But yeah, again, it depends on what you face, whether one is better than the other. It's kind of tricky to call, really. Resto Shaman Feral. Yeah, again, I just don't think it's great. I think it's potentially actually worse than the Priest version. I think the Priest version is able to do quite a lot with the clone. Maybe even bring it down to C. You're just not going to see that much of it, really. Resto Shaman Unholy DK. I actually think this is better than a lot. Maybe you just whack it there. I think, again, it's like kind of where the Pala version is, right? Very similar. And then Resto Shaman Monk. I think this might be one of the better Resto Shaman comps. I don't know if it's better than the Fire Mage. I think it might just be like here-ish. Like low A tier. And then we got the double DPS Ret comps. So we got Ret BM, Ret MM, Ret Survival. They're all very similar. Like, this is kind of annoying because I want to put these in A tier, but it's going to ruin the aesthetic of my list. Ret Unholy DK, I think is just kind of probably low B tier. I think a lot just beats it out. But it's not bad. I mean, you can probably get some value out of it. And then I need to move some things down. I put too many things in B tier. This is the problem. But yeah, realistically, we've probably got all three of these in A tier as well, somewhere like that. I actually think the BM version is more durable because the Beast Within. MM is more offensively capable because of the silence, and then Survival is just last. Even though Survival, I think, damage is better in general. So I think I'll probably leave it like that. Arguably, we could move a couple of things down and up and stuff, but to make it more aesthetically pleasing. But it's like, is it really worth it? I think that's pretty decent. So yeah, we've got a lot of Rest of Druid comps in summary in the S tier, but there's a couple of monks and holy priests creeping in there, which we kind of saw coming with regards to the actual healer strength from the 2's class tier list. We've got Windwalker monks in there. We've got hunters. Hunters is very strong showing. We've got a couple of warriors and mages, so that all makes decent sense. And then boomies as well. I think boomie actually could have done with being in an S tier for the class rankings individually. I think putting that in A was a mistake. Then in A tier, again, we've got more holy priests, more resto druids, more boomies, but we've got a couple of holy pala comps in here with the mage. And resto shaman creeping up here as well. More Windwalker monk comps, things like that. And then the ret double deeps comps, which are surprisingly durable if played well. But actually, I feel like if your average Joe plays these, they could actually be down in B tier. I don't think it makes that much of a difference. I think you kind of get the gist of it, really. I'll just do it. Whatever. They're just very, very easy to die on if you play them incorrectly, I guess. If you're sort of, I don't know, 1800 to 2.2 sort of tier player, I guess, then maybe you're not going to make these work as well. But I think that's fair. What else have we got in the middle? More warrior comps, just the weaker healers on warriors. But to be honest, you can still make these work. Warriors are really strong, so it depends on the warrior a lot of the time as well. What else have we got? We got a couple of DK comps, a couple of locks creeping in here. Slightly weaker hunter comps. And then in C tier, we've kind of just got like the weaker specs. So obviously like sub, enhance, feral, stuff like that coming in here. We haven't even got Shadow Priest on here. We haven't got Ellie on here. They're just too weak to even bother putting on at the end of the day. Honestly, the Shadow Priests and Ellie comps and stuff like that could probably come in at D tier. Your average Joe. Maybe like an absolute banger SP can make it work with like a Boomy or I don't know, maybe a sub-rogue Shadow Priest. I don't know. I haven't seen anyone playing that with any degree of success, so it's kind of tough to call. I think there certainly isn't any healer Shadow Priest comps that are worth spending time on. But potentially, yeah, we might see a bit more of the Shadow Priest double DPS in later seasons. But I think right now it's just too much work to actually make it work with something. So again, haven't seen any that are actually a significant threat. So if I see some more average players doing well with it, I'll obviously change my mind. But until then, it's just not getting on. Not happening. Okay, I think that's it. Took a while to research this. Took a lot of games. Took a lot of messing about in paint. Pretty much as good as I've got right now. Obviously, if you think any of the comps that are in there are too high or too low, get a discussion going in the comments. I'm not a MoP private server player. This purely comes from my beta experience about 2K games or something now. So I'm open to suggestions, open to criticism, and we can tweak the list if needs be, so that it makes more sense and helps more people. Again, keep in mind that this is for your average player. This is not for your rank 1 players. So when you comment, keep that in mind. All right. See you later. Oh yeah. What's that other thing? Subscribe.